So, what is IPS? And IPS itself stands for Individual Place and Support, and it's an employment methodology that's been adopted by mental health professionals over the last 25 years. And where did it come from? Well, most employment methodologies originate in person-centered practice, and if you go back to the 60s and 70s, we were using a thing called individual place and train, which meant that we supported an individual with a disability or a barrier to employment to find employment. They were placed in employment, the right employment hopefully, and then they were trained in the skills they needed. Now, over the years, of course, as the mental health community have adapted that to IPS, which is place and support. And that means that, yes, we're looking for employment, the right employment for someone, and then we're supporting them. And that support from the mental health community means that there is a mental health team supporting the individual and delivering therapy. And this is generally done in clinical settings. So the IPS model itself is focused at employment, but it works with a clinical team. Now, that's great if you have mental health support, a therapist, or you're attached to a clinical setting where they can support your mental health journey, your recovery. But what happens if you don't have that? Now, the interesting part about IPS is that I was doing IPS probably 20 years ago. My background is initially as a counsellor, and I was working in employment, and we were using IPS. We didn't call it IPS. We basically, it was a therapy program that focused at employment, and we were using the methodology in the community. So, IPS is a clinical-based establishment set up with a clinical team and a vocational specialist working with them, engaging with the team, and working in the community. Now, when we look at IPS today, there are more people in the community that are dealing with mental illness that really need support of an employment professional who can also support some of your mental health needs, but not be a clinician and certainly not cross into that. So IPS is a clinical approach to employment using a mental health team and a vocational specialist who is working with that team.